Okay, good morning. I want to start the interview off by asking you to introduce yourself as
Sure.
well as tell us a little bit about your job story. Tell us about the career you're in right now and why did you choose that particular career?
Okay, so my name is Amy Link, and I am an immigration attorney, and I practice immigration in downtown Miami normally. I'm home right now, but normally I work downtown in a high-rise building, and I have been practicing immigration for almost 20 years. So I graduated high school, went to college in Boston. I went to BU. Then I went to University of Miami Law School. And when I graduated law school, I didn't initially practice immigration. First, I was a state attorney, which means that I was a prosecutor. I was a criminal prosecutor in Broward County. I did that for 5 years. And then it's kind of a natural progression, but I went into practicing immigration. I like to help people. I like to interact with people, and immigration is that type of practice. It's very specific with people's personal problems and facts and kind of like where if you're a prosecutor, there's a jury that's going to find someone guilty or not guilty. Immigration is going to approve or deny a petition. So basically, I help people that want to immigrate to the United States, or if they want to just work in the United States, I help them get visas from around the world. And that's what I do. I've been doing it for almost 20 years.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I know your day-to-day work has changed since COVID, like you're working from home, but I want to ask you, how was a day-to-day day of work prior to COVID? What all went into like an average day's work?
Okay, so it's interesting that you ask, because I usually tell my children, I feel like a term paper is due on Monday and it's Sunday night and I haven't started it yet. So it's a constant deadline situation for me. Some people don't like that, but then other people work very well under pressure like that. So with immigration, there's always deadlines, and you always have to plan very far in advance a strategy for someone that wants to come to the United States. So most of my day would be spent talking to people, either when an initial consultation where I talk to someone who's outside of the United States and they say, I want to come to the United States, I have a job offer, or my family is in the United States, I want to move to the United States. How do I go about doing this? So part of my day would be spent on the phone or doing a video conference or meetings in person for people that have traveled here with foreigners that want to come here and work or come here to live. The other part of my day, majority of my day, is spent once they hire me to do it, is putting together what we refer to as petitions. What I do is I put together the petition, and usually that involves a lot of forms, a ton of forms. It involves looking at the person's history, their passports, and then any supporting documents for their job that they want to do here, or if it's a relative petitioning for them, the supporting documents showing the relationship, whether it's a son or a parent or a sister or brother, and putting together these very large petitions that are then mailed to USCIS, United States Immigration and Customs Services, and USCIS will make a decision. And they'll either say, okay, we're going to approve this petition, and we're going to allow this person to come here, or we're not going to approve it. Or there's a third answer that you could get, is that we need more information, and that's called a request for evidence. So those are the three outcomes that I get: approved, denied, or a request for evidence. If a case is approved, then we move to the next step, which is helping them put together the documentation that they need to go to a consulate abroad, whatever country they're from. They go to the consulate, they have an interview, and then they come to the United States. So my day is spent talking to people, filling out forms, organizing support documentation. You know, it sounds easy, but it's very complicated, and it's very stressful because there's timelines for doing all of this and deadlines. That's what I do.
So I would say that a person with your particular title, they have to be organized.
Absolutely.
And they have to be good at meeting deadlines, definitely.
Yeah, and they have to be a people person. They have to be willing to listen to people and talk to them about their problems and about their desires and wishes and what their hopes and dreams are for their future and for their children. Definitely organization, definitely working with people. and definitely attention to detail. Because
Definitely.
if you make one mistake on any of these forms, it could cause the whole case to be denied and have severe consequences for people.
Okay, great. And I love that we're getting to talk to you about this today because a lot of people, when they think about a lawyer, they think about what they see on TV, standing in
Yeah,
front of a judge and prosecuting or defending. But there are different types of lawyers, different types,
absolutely.
and you can do a number of things. It's not just in the courtroom per se, but you can be a lawyer and you can perform different tasks. Correct?
Well, this is what I tell people because I mentor a lot of young lawyers and a lot of people that come to me from high school. They know my daughters and they know me from being involved in the PTA and they know my children. So a lot of people do ask me these types of questions a lot. And this is what I say. Don't go to law school just because you want to make money or you're not really sure what you want to do and you want to be a lawyer. The best way to go to law school is if you're passionate about something. Let's say you love sports, but you don't necessarily want to be a physical therapist or a coach. Okay, well you could do sports law. Or if you like immigration and you like helping people and you want to help foreigners do this, then do immigration law. If you like the environments and you want to help the environments, but maybe you're not like super scientific, but you want to help the environment, become an environmental lawyer. Like it's good to apply your passion to the law rather than become a lawyer and then figure out what your passion is because it's very boring if you're just a lawyer for the sake of being a lawyer and you're not really passionate about what you're lawyering about. So I think that you can apply the law to really any passion that you have, and and that's what makes law exciting. I think for people when if they love real estate, they love the wheeling and dealing of real estate. Okay, well maybe you don't want to be a real estate broker, but you can be a lawyer and practice real estate law. It's really open to anything. So plus, you can have a good income if you work hard and you work your way up, and it's a lucrative position, and it's something that you can do for a very long period of time.
Cool. Now we're going to move, we're going to go back in time a little bit. This program is geared toward eighth grade students. So I want you to think about eighth grade Amy.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me, what did eighth grade Amy want to be when she grew up? And does your career now connect in any way to what you thought she wanted to be back then?
Not at all. I think in eighth grade, I wanted to be a chef. I love cooking, and I wanted to be a chef. And my parents said, well, that's a great hobby. You can do it on the side, but we would appreciate if you could get some kind of career so that if it doesn't work out being a chef, you can, fall back on something professional. My parents were very big on education, and they were willing to support me in whatever education I chose. So I was very fortunate about that. And I was always a good writer. I was always more of an English communications person. I wasn't such a math and science person, although, nowadays I think it doesn't really matter, but I always was more geared towards English and writing and communication, which is why I think becoming a prosecutor and then, going into immigration was kind of like a natural progression for me versus doing something math or science oriented. That's not how my brain works, or computers. I don't understand technology. So.
Don't worry, you are not alone. There's a lot of people that's in that same boat, so don't feel bad at all. Okay. The next question I want to ask you is, I want you to think about what was your first paying job, and what is one thing that you took away from that job, whether it was positive or negative.
Okay, my whole life, I always had a job, even in high school and all through college. I always worked in some kind of retail, some kind of job. So I have a very good work ethic, I think. I've always worked. There was never a point in my time, never a time in my life where I wasn't employed, doing something, whether it was working at the ski market or working at my dad's Hallmark store. I always liked to work. My first job out of law school was at the state attorney's office. And it was a very low paying job, but it was a great job for someone that was young like me. It gave a young lawyer, a lot of like influence, I guess. I wouldn't say power because I wasn't really after power, but I was able to really have a lot of influence on people's lives. Um, I worked in the domestic violence unit for a while, and I would, you know, interview and work with domestic violence victims. And while the job did not pay well, I almost looked at it as like an internship. And I was with a bunch of people my age. So it was a great experience right out of law school. It's a competitive job. It's hard to get, but if you can get into the state attorney's office or the public defender's office, you make lifelong contacts and you get lifelong skills that you can use the rest of your career. So that was my first job, was the state attorney's office. Real job,
Okay.
I would say.
That is amazing. So now I want to focus on your education path, because when people hear, "Oh, I'm a lawyer," they think about tons of schooling. So I just want you to take us on a journey down your education path, any certifications or special schooling that you had to receive, so the students know what's ahead of them if they want to become a lawyer.
Okay, so um, you graduate high school and you go to a university or a college and you need to get a bachelor's degree. I know Kim Kardashian doesn't have a bachelor's degree, but we're not all Kim Kardashian, and you can't just like pay your way to be a lawyer, whatever she's doing, because I know she's not going to law school. She's somehow doing something in California. But the traditional path is you graduate high school and you go to college. I would say it doesn't really matter what school you choose to go to college, as long as you do well, because ultimately you have to apply to law school. And you do that in your last year of college. And law schools will look at your GPA, just like if you're applying to college. They'll look at your GPA, they'll look at the coursework that you took, and then there's an exam called the LSATs. And you have to take the LSATs. It's kind of like the SATs, but for law school. And you get a score, and based upon your GPA and your classes you took in your LSAT score, then you apply to law schools. And just like colleges, I mean, there's law schools that are easier to get into, and then you can Harvard Law School or Yale are probably next to impossible to get into. Um, my own career path, you know, I was a B plus A student, not an A plus student, not a straight A student. Occasional C in high school, B plus A. I went to Boston University, which back then wasn't as competitive, but it was a good school, decent school. I graduated in the top third of my class. I wasn't at the top of my class, but I had like a B plus average. I did well on the LSATs, but not amazing, but well enough to get into University of Miami Law School. And that school is 3 years. At the end of law school, after 3 years, you take the bar exam and then you can practice law. And I don't know. I didn't find law school too hard. It's just a continuation of school. So, you know, it's a lot of reading, a lot of writing, but it wasn't impossible. I think the hardest part is just making the commitment to go.
Awesome. So now we're going to go back in time one more time. We're going to go and we're going to think about eighth grade Amy. And if there was any bit of advice that you can give yourself in eighth grade, what would that advice be?
Okay, so I think one of the most important things that I see that students should focus on is their creative writing. Okay, I think a lot of students, their creative writing is just not there. I do a lot of college essay review. You know, I help students with their college essays, and a lot of students, they just don't understand, or maybe because of the computers or maybe the technology that people use today, how important it is to be able to tell a story on paper, and a story with facts and that flows consistently with paragraphs and using correct grammar. And I just think that it's something so, so important if you want to be a lawyer, especially, is to learn and focus on creative writing, even if you're just journaling to yourself. But not having writing skills will hurt you later in life, I think, in this type of job.
Cool. And this brings us down to our final question. I want to put you in the mindset that there's an eighth grader watching this video, and they have their heart set on becoming a lawyer. What advice can you give them to lead them down the path of becoming a lawyer like yourself?
Okay, so I think it's important to to try your best in school. Like you're not gonna get in, maybe, okay, so let's say you didn't try that hard in school, but now you're going to go to college. At some point, you have to study and you have to get your study skills in order so that you can do well in college and then do well in law school. Um, it's just something that you have to think about now. It's very hard to, if you want to go and be a young lawyer and go right from high school to college to law school, you really have to uh, get your study skills now, get your writing skills up to speed, and do well. And just make an effort to do well and make an effort to take the classes that will help you with critical thinking. Because you have to learn to think critically, you have to learn to challenge people. You can't just assume everything you read is true. You have to question it. And being a lawyer it requires like a very well-rounded education. So I would just take a lot of classes that help you with your critical thinking, helping with your writing, and just try to do the best you can. Not necessarily to get into the best law school or college you can, but just really to get you to think and write and be a well-rounded, educated person.
Amy, this concludes our interview today. I thank you for being a part of our Junior Achievement Inspire event. The knowledge that you shared, I know it's really going to help the students who watch these videos. Thank you once again for participating.
Okay, thank you, Adam.